Welcome to another in our series entitled The Psychological Backstory to the Bible, where in conversation with a therapist we explore the behind-the-scenes emotions of a biblical narrative that are not found in the Bible. Rather, they are found in an ancient oral tradition called Midrash. I want to welcome our returning therapist, Yisrael Frankel. Thank you so much for joining us again.
My pleasure.
So let me start with the text from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verse 10. If you read the Bible, there is no agenda here, just the laws of taking a female captive in war. The Bible says when you go out to war and God helps your army be victorious and you take captives, you see a beautiful woman and desire her, you can take her as a wife. The Bible tells you the procedure. You bring her to your home, cut her hair, grow her fingernails, and she removes the clothes she wore when you captured her, and she'll sit in your home and cry for her father and mother for a month. Then you can have relations with her, and she'll be considered your wife. However, when we add the overlay of the ancient oral tradition of the Midrashic literature, what's going on here is something entirely different. The reason she must take off the alluring clothes she wore when you first spotted her, cut her hair, grow her fingernails, cry for her parents for a month, is that your passion cools and you now realize you have on your hands an unattractive emotional wreck. In fact, the Bible goes on in verse 14 to say, should you decide that you don't want to marry her, you have to just let her go. You can't sell her, enslave her because you had relations with her. So the Bible is giving you an out, but you can't make money off her, just let her go. So the Bible understood that your passion got the better of you. You were going to fall, and there's no way to stop it. But now the Bible is offering you an elegant off-ramp, a way to move on, unburden yourself from your moment of weakness, a graceful way out, all disguised in a procedure you need to follow in order to marry her. Is there something in therapy that dovetails the Bible's therapeutic approach to recovering from failure? That's my question to you.
This is a message in any therapeutic process, whether it's in an intimate relationship with a woman or whether it's with a certain substance or a certain job. A lot of times we are drawn to something, very, very excited, and when we finish, we feel empty. Why did that happen? You were so driven to do it, and then suddenly, boom. Because what happened was, it was only an external part of your being and the internal of your part of your being was not satisfied. It has no business doing this. So when you finish, that internal part is saying, hey, what about me? I'm still hungry. I didn't get fed over here. And that's where the emptiness comes from. The Bible has a suggestion and says, if you say you want to take this woman, let's see if you're lying to yourself or it's really in unison with your inner world. We'll take out those elements of beauty and we'll take that elements of the lure and you'll be with her in her emotional states. Well, if you really care about a woman, then when she's sad and she's crying and even she's not in her most beautiful state, you want to be with her, you want to be connected to her. What happens when you invalidate all of that? Well, we validate all of that, and suddenly you start getting a real picture of what it's like to have a relationship. If your inner world is not there, you're going to say, listen, this was confusion, and I'm not doing this. I don't want this external relationship. And you put her back where she belongs. If you don't do this process properly, you're going to end up hating her. Why are you going to end up hating her? Because there was no love involved. And so it was only physical. So when that part of yourself is now resentful, like, why am I investing so much in this woman? I don't even want her. And it ends up being hate.
So basically, if we talk about the psychological backstory, so it's sort of like this could just be a paradigm for anything that you think you want. You got so excited about it. It's like, say, a new job offer. And you say, if someone was sitting down in your office and said to you, I got this new job offer and it's got a great title and I think I'm getting a lot of respect. So you might push back and say, okay, but there's some core talents that you have. Are you going to get to express them in this job? You say, no, but and people are going to look up to me. And this, when I tell my friends about this title and my business card, it's just going to be, I'm going to feel great. But you may push back and say, yeah, I know, but what about the core titles the core, skills that you have, which gives you satisfaction in life? Does this give you a chance to express them, to use them, to grow those skills? And, so I guess maybe slowly but surely you might wean this person off or hold up a mirror and say, do you see what's happening here? This is a passion that you're it's like you just saw this hot babe in the, in the war, but you haven't like cooled down and actually, pulled it apart and said, like what you were saying before, is all of me involved in this or not? Then people are going to look up to me, and this, when I tell my friends about this title and my business card, it's just going to be, I'm going to feel great. But you may push back and say, yeah, I know, but what about the core? Right, but how do you get somebody to slow down and quiet down and listen?
So one of the most fascinating things that God created is called imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And if we put somebody in a situation and we say, okay, you're very excited. Let's imagine you're doing this for a year. Okay, how do you feel? Feelings are always a portal to the inner world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel respected, but I'm sad. Really?
Mm-hmm.
What are you sad about? Well, I had this desire inside of me to do this thing in the world, this passion that I had, and I'm not doing it. Like I feel a loss. Wow. Okay. So, and let's imagine now that you had a different job, which you were doing this thing you're really passionate about, but you wouldn't get as much noticing by the public. How would you feel? Well, you know what? I'd feel so excited about that thing. I don't know if I would care what other people think. Really? Oh, interesting. Okay, so now let's look at these two choices. Here's choice A, choice B. Which one do you want? It's not a difficult process. But the problem we often have is we're so caught up in the humdrum of life, we don't spend time listening to our own inner world. But if we're in a good, quiet space, and especially if someone's helping you direct you, it's not hard to see what would things really feel if you play them out.
It seems that the Bible is letting you fail, but giving you a very graceful way to recognize and come out of it. Is this an exception, or does the Bible always give you a graceful exit?
Look, the entire method of the Bible is directing humankind to take this physical reality we live in, uplift it to a higher space. That's the paradigm. Okay, so we deal all day longs with all kinds of things in life that are challenges, and the Bible never says don't have challenges. The Bible says when you have a challenge, do this, right? So in this case, it's no different. It's like a guy's in war, and the Bible is saying, the Bible could have said, listen, don't interact with people you take in war. They're slaves. Don't interact with them. You're not supposed to marry a person you took as a captive. You're supposed to marry a free woman. You're supposed to marry a woman who is part of your tribe, part of your your collective, right? But the Bible would, if that would be the case, then people wouldn't be able to deal with these incredible passions they have during war. They would just falter. So the Bible says, listen, you're going to deal with this problem. Let me give you a solution.
So the Bible goes on to give two scenarios seemingly unrelated to this woman captive. The first is, don't have a situation where you have two wives, one you hate and one you love, and sometimes you're going to have a wayward child, just a disaster that is going to wreak havoc on society. So of course, Midrashic literature again connects all three and says these are the outcomes: terrible marriage and a disaster child. So I'm asking you talked before about being unaligned within yourself, sort of living a lie, that you are mixing up passion and love, and so how is that affecting the outcome of the child? And I'll open this up and say, don't just answer as a therapist, but you can answer, because I know you have a background in Talmud and in mystical Judaism, so give us the mystical answer to my question.
The moments of conception is an imprint on that being, and that being will come into the world with those attributes as their base. And therefore, since the base of this child is an experience of my external world just acting on its own, not in unison with my internal world, that will be their base hardware.
So what's going on spiritually, emotionally at the moment of conception is going to have an effect on the child. That's something we really have to think about. So let's try to sum up. It seems to me that this is a paradigm for the Bible trying to give us this message that any time in life when there's something that you get very passionate and excited about, break it down, ask yourself, is it good for you? Is it healthy for you? Or is it a fleeting pleasure? Is that the way you would sum it up?
Yeah, it does. And I would say it's the simpler we can make it, the better. In other words, if you want to really simplify it, don't use people, love people.
Okay, beautiful. Excellent. All right, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This has been another in our series entitled The Psychological Backstory to the Bible.